welcome everyone to the very first event organized by YMP Switzerland. I'm Jean Delebar. I'm the founder of YMP Switzerland, and on my professional time, I also work for Glencore as a financial analyst. So today we have our first webinar on the hot and trending topic of tailings and the potential to reprocess them. Before digging into the presentation, let me spend a few minutes to present the YMP organization. YMP stands for Young Mining Professional. It's a network of mining professionals based in Canada, which developed with chapters all around the world in mining centers. So in Canada, Australia, UK, South Africa, also in Peru. So the YMP group shares the goal of advancing leadership, education, and the connection of young professionals from the mining and exploration industry in the broader sense. So in our members, we have mining engineers, geologists, finance people, IT developers, environment people. So it's really in the broader sense. So we have created the YMP Switzerland chapter a couple of months ago because we believe there is a fairly extensive mining ecosystem in Switzerland with mining companies such as Glencore, engineering companies such as ABB, lots of other commodity traders, gold refineries, NGOs as well, and great universities. So we intend to run the YMP Switzerland chapter based on 3 pillars, which is connect with each other, learn from each other, and promote the mining industry and be proud of what we do. If you are interested or want to know more about the association or are also keen to take an active role, feel free to get in touch with me. You should have my email and contacts in the invitation. So today is the first webinar of a series of webinars that we plan to organize on a monthly basis, and where the goal is to give voice to people in Europe who participate in advancing the mining industry. So it's really to give a voice to the European mining community and to show that in Europe mining is there, and it's also a dynamic industry. Our first webinar is on the topic of tailings, and particularly on remining tailings. Tailings reprocessing is not a new thing; it's been existing for decades. But I believe that the sustainability challenge put forward to the mining companies, and as well technological innovation, will make the process more and more appealing to mining companies. So our guest today is Philippe Büttner. Philippe has graduated from the University of Freiberg with a specialization in geoecology. Since 2012, he's been science manager and project coordinator at the Institute Helmholtz for Resource Technology, where he specializes on mineral characterization and raw material characterization and variable mineral extraction from mine dumps and mine tailings. He's also the founder of Recombine, which he will present today. And also recently, he's part of the team who got selected to be in the last 10 finalists of the BHP Tailings Challenge, which consists of finding innovative solutions to repurpose copper tailings. So at the end of the presentation, you will have the opportunity to ask questions to Philippe. You can already, during the presentation, start to put your questions in the chat, and at the end of the presentation, I will open the microphone for you to ask your question. So please remind that the webinar is recorded. So if you don't want to appear, just remove your videos. And I can also repeat the question for you directly to Philippe. So Philippe, with no further ado, thanks a lot for being with us. Really appreciated that you're the first on our platform. Yeah, it's up to you now. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you all for the invitation. I'm very happy that I'm the first guy here presenting in this webinar series. So I'm as Jean said, I'm one of the founders of RCOMine. So RCOMine is a network on mine tailings and on mine waste, and we are planning and we are working on holistic mine waste solutions. And what is behind our research and who we are, that is what I want to tell you in my presentation. And the presentation is called, so now I have to skip it here, I'm sorry. Now it should work, yeah. My presentation is called Holistic Concepts for Tailings Remining. And I will show you a bit our results and our research we have done the last years. But first of all, I want to show you the webinar agenda. So first of all, I want to show you the remining, what is behind this word remining. How can we find out more about the potential of mine waste? So potential in different views. Environmental potential, but also potential for valuable elements. And then I will tell you about RCOMine. So this is the alliance I'm standing for and I'm coordinating right now. And in the end, I will show you some examples of projects we are working on right now. And after that, of course, you can ask me some questions and I give you hopefully all the answers to your questions. I'm the coordinator of RCOMine, and I'm working at the Helmholtz Institute Freiburg for Resource Technology. And we are a very new, well, not very new, but a relatively new institute, and we are founded in 2011. So this year we have our 10th birthday, and we have a mission that we can become a national center in Germany for developing technologies for resources. So we want to find new sources for resources. We want to close the loops of circular economy. So we want to work with mine waste and also recycling technologies. And we develop not just new technologies, also we're working on a contribution to the industry growth of Germany and also of Europe. And we train new professionals in research professionals in our labs. So we have a lot of international people working for us. We have from around 25 different countries people working for us, 140 people we are right now. And there you can see a bit our groups, or our departments where they work in. We have a very huge exploration department, a biotechnology department, physical processing and process metallurgy. And we have these cross departments with modeling and valuation, with geoscientists working on geomathematical models and analysis. We have strong analytic groups where we have people working on mineral liberation analyzers and also chemical analysis on mine waste or on primary rocks. And we have this system integrated metal production group, which is more or less geometallurgy group. So they modeling whole processes of metallurgy and to predict what is the output of processes when we work with mine waste, for example. So as I told you, we're working on the circular economy, and we're working on the upper part of this circle, which is the exploration, mining, physical processing, and metallurgy part. We are not involved in product design and manufacturing of products and the use of products, but we are involved in recycling technologies. And the RCOMine consortia is focused on the waste streams from the mining, from the physical processing, and from the metallurgy. So we are working with mine water, with tailings, and with slags and ashes. This is what we work on and what we have done the last 8 to 9 years in several projects. We also have in the HIF 2 startup companies. One is the TAX company, which is focused on exploration. So they do a lot of services for the mining industry in exploration, for example, drill core scanning with hyperspectral cameras. And we also have the Erzlabor, which is our spin-off, which deals with all the mineralogical tasks we get from the industry. So they do mineral analysis, very detailed mineral studies for the industry. we are based in the Erzgebirge, that is a region in Germany which is the German ore mining region, because we had a lot of mining in the past in this region. We had huge uranium mines, we had lead, zinc, and silver mining, but also some nickel. Yeah, as you can see it in this map, we have a lot, or we had a lot of big mines there. And then after the reunification of Germany, they were all closed, and all the companies and all the competence in the region switched over to environmental services, more or less, because they had to clean the area afterwards a lot. So a lot of companies, they changed their focus to remediation of these old mine tailings, and also of the mines and mine wastes. Yeah, but now the things are changing again, and now mining comes back to our region. So we have it's very promising projects here in our region, for example, for lithium. So there is also a partner of Recombine, the Deutsche Lithium. This is a company. They want to start a lithium mine in the Erzgebirge again. So we are looking forward to that times. And yeah, but we are focused on tailings. And why are we focused on tailings? So in Germany, I would say 8 years ago, and also in Europe, there was a big hype on tailings, I would say, because there were a lot of funding programs started. And all of these funding programs were looking at more or less the critical raw materials. So the motivation was to find new sources for critical raw materials for the European industry, for the European high-tech industry. And here you can see very list, or in this picture you can see for example, the rare earth elements here in red are very important elements the EU was looking for, and that's why we started investigating tailings and investigating ways to create these kind of critical raw materials. In our case, it was more focused on indium or gallium or germanium. How we can get these metals out of our tailings we have in the Erzgebirge, because we are a historic mining region with a lot of tailings. Yeah, and then we, but there's another motivation. So in the past, most of the time, the motivation behind a tailing remining was the money. So there was still some gold inside, and people could earn money with that, and they wanted to do that. In our case, it was a more strategical motivation behind from the European Union and also from Germany to find sources where the supply risk is lower than on the world market, for example. Yeah, and what is the benefit you have with tailings? So I think a lot of you guys are very familiar with the mining operation, and also the risks of exploration, and also feasibility and pre-feasibility studies. And this is normally here in this picture you can see the money you have to invest until a mine opens. And then you can slowly earn your money back. And there's still a risk until the mine opens that the whole operation will fail. When you go for tailings, you start a bit later, and you skip a few steps in that in that graph. And because you start already with the knowledge about the material, you have it on the surface. You don't need to grind that material. You have the exact volumes of the material. Sometimes you have historic data from the mining companies, from the former mining companies. So you have already a lot of data, and you have to study the tailing very well, but you know already a lot. And so you started with you will start with a lower risk. And this will save in the end some money for your whole operation. Of course, you have to look at the scale of the tailing. That is very important, but I show you later a bit more different values you have to care about, and the different issues with these tailings. So there are also, but there are also high risks from tailing, as you know. And for example, these are the pictures are from our Erzgebirge region. We had also big tailing accidents in our area. For example, we had collapses of our dams, in the past. So whole valleys had huge mud problems because one dam was collapsed. Also the risk from tailings because of the heavy metals, the washing, or the outwashing of heavy metals is also high, because when you have arsenic inside, for example, or cadmium, the cadmium can be washed out and go to the rivers and can pollute all the area around. This is also the case in our region. Yeah, and of course the huge collapses, they are very very terrible, as happened in Brazil, for example. This is a very, very high risk, and these days we have also a motivation from the state and also from tailings owners to remove that risk of collapses. So that means, and also the risk of the pollution by heavy metals from tailings. So this can also be a motivation to do a tailings remining. So to take the material again and to clean it, and to, of course, get the metals out of it at the same time. We have in the uranium regions, we have another high risk, which is called radon gas emissions. So we had in the Erzgebirge area a radon gas which comes from the uranium, and this is very, very dangerous for you, because you can, if you live in an area with the high radon gas emissions, then you can get cancer, and it makes a high risk for cancer. And that's why you have also the motivation to clean these kind of areas and to take the material. And we have a lot of knowledge in our area from companies. They were first like the Wismut company, mining companies, and then they changed and they became remediation companies, and they did all this cleaning afterwards, after the reunification of Germany. And so these guys, so this knowledge of our region is part of our RCOMine Alliance, because we have these companies on board. And there is also now, after, I think it started right after the big accidents in Brazil, there's also now a global movement, I would say, on tailings, because now there is a new global industry standard on tailings management. So all the big mining companies, they worked on that new standard together with scientific partners to create a new standard, and to be better and to lower the risks from tailings. And so that happens last year in August 2020, that this first global industry standard came up. So there is a global movement on tailings, and you can see that results in some things like the BHP Tailings Challenge, for example. Also, Vale started the Future of Tailings initiative, and other tailings initiatives pop up everywhere around the world right now. So it is the right time to talk about tailings, because it is of interest all over the whole world. We believe that tailings operations has to be holistic. That means if you take the material in your hand once, then you have to do all what you can do with the material, because it costs you energy and to already take material, and most of the time you have several valuable elements in there, so you can you have to try to get out all of them. You have also the pollutants in there. You have to inert all these pollutants, and if you're lucky, you have a mineral residue which you can use for example, for construction material, which is also good, because then you save the primary resources, and maybe some quarries don't have to produce more sand because you can get it from your tailing. And this is what you have to think about when you talk about holistic tailing solutions. So where are the different products? And this is exactly what we proposed also in the BHP Tailings Challenge. I tell you a bit later about this challenge, but this is what we also proposed. We want to have a holistic view on all the products we can create from tailings, and even water. Water is also for us a product, because if you de-water tailings, you can win some fresh water or recycle processing water. But you have to also, when you are in historic mining regions, you have to think about other things as well. So there is one thing is the potential. That means you have, for example, a mineral potential, which is very good. I'll show you in the next slide what I mean with that. But there are also technology issues. So is the technology able to get the valuables out of your material? This is another question. And then there is also there are social aspects, for example, and environmental aspects. So for example, in our region, we have green surfaces of the tailings because they were left the last 50 years in some cases. And now you have a forest on there and you have some very highly protected animals. So this is what I want to show you. You have to see the whole fingerprint of each tailing, and each tailing is different. This is a very important thing. And you have to check every case, and you have to ask you some questions. But the first questions you have to ask about tailings is how is the potential of these tailings? So what are the valuable elements inside, and what are the concentrations of the valuable elements? What are the toxic elements? This is also a problem, because in Europe, when you take the material and this is full of toxic elements, you have a waste in your hand and you have to care about the waste. There are rules and it costs you some money. So you have to have a good plan about dealing with the toxic elements. Then the mineralogy itself is very important, because as I told you, you can have material which is maybe full of copper, but the copper is so fine that you can't get out the copper of your material, and then you can't produce the metal from your tailing. It is full of your metal, but you can't get it out. This is a big thing. So the mineralogy is very, very important for the technology you use, or what is your technology able to work with. And the homogeneity. So of course, if you take the sample on one side and on the other side you have a totally different material, then of course you can probably very important question in the regional infrastructure. So is there still an infrastructure, or do you have to build everything new for your tailing to reprocess it? Or how far is it from the next smelter? If you have a concentrate, you have to transport it. So these are very important questions you have to ask yourself. And if we talk about historic mine tailings, then these questions are they can really destroy your whole idea of an operation, because if the regional infrastructure is completely lost, there is no smelter anymore in the region, and there is no processing plant more, then you have a problem, a big problem, because you can't build everything new just for one tailing, because usually the volumes are too low. So these are the things you have to consider when you think about the potential of the tailings. But also the metal prices, of course, and how the market for metals is developing. But these are the main aspects. And then you have the social and environmental aspects. So that means you see it here in the picture of 1967. This was the tailing we do investigations on in Freiberg. This was more or less the end stadium of the tailing. So this is how they put it there, and then they just left it there and they did nothing. And later they did a little cover with some old construction material and I think a little bit of soil. And today, or 2009, this picture is from 2019, next to the old picture, you see how it looks like today. So you have a forest there. We have very highly protected animals like the sand lizard, and it's protected by EU law. So when you have the sand lizard on your old tailing, then you have to take the whole population of the sand lizard and you have to move it when you want to work with the material below. And this is also very, it costs you a lot of money. So this you have to consider as well. So what are the protected animals, and what kind of emissions do you have? Do you have water or dust emissions? If the dust is very polluted by heavy metals, you can get problems with your with the local authorities and also with the people around. What is the land use of this area? The site status. So you can also, if it is classified as a forest, you have to deal with the forest authorities to make it industry area and so on. So, and we also have another problem now. We are UNESCO World Heritage, which is good, but the view on our tailings is protected by the UNESCO World Heritage status of the Ore Mountain region, so as historical mining region. So if you want to change this view, you have to call in Paris the guys from the UNESCO and ask them if you're allowed to do that, else the whole region loses its status. So we have several problems. I mean, we have really specific problems here, but these are things you have to think about in historic mining regions when you're talking about tailings remining. But that is easier in active mining regions because usually they have the operation licenses and so on, and usually you do not have, you have fresh tailings and not these kind of old tailings. Yeah, and then of course, all that. So the potential, mainly the potential, determines your process and your technology. So you first take a closer look to the material, and then you take a look to what your processes you have, what they can do. So, for example, leaching can be a good technology, bioleaching, flotation, or just hydrometallurgical or pyrometallurgical processes. So you have to adapt your whole process and flow sheet on the material that you can define in the end a suitable flow sheet which solves all your problems and which creates all the products you look at or you want to create. Yeah, and then you have to, of course, see how is the recovery rate of your process. Is it possible? For example, most of the tailings we investigated were very fine-grained. So if you will flotate it again, you will get problems because flotation works in a special range. And the problem is when you have smaller particles, then the flotation will not work again. So you have to think about the fine flotation and how is that working. So you need new technologies which can deal with the material you have. And of course, the main thing is these infrastructural things. Is the infrastructure still there, or do you have to reconstruct the whole infrastructure of a mine and of a mining of the resource chain? So and because of all these questions we have in our region, and also because of our ideas that we have to have a holistic view on mine waste, we founded this RCOMine Alliance, which is funded by the German state. So we have from the Federal Ministry of Research and Education. There was a funding program which supports regions with ideas, with interesting ideas and innovative ideas to and we are living in an old mining region, and we wanted to transform all the knowledge we have on mining and on remediation together with the new drive from the Industry 4.0, so also with the methods of digitalization, and also including social aspects. And we wanted to develop holistic solutions for mine waste. And the good thing is, in our region we have many different sites and for all the waste streams, so that we can use these as test fields, open laboratories. And we founded this, it's an industry and a community from the industry, but also from scientists and also from universities and NGOs. We founded this alliance to make real tests on real cases in the Erzgebirge to export it later to other countries. This is what we are doing now. And we have these test sites in the Erzgebirge. We are looking to global problems, and we try to find solutions for global problems we have also in our region. Test the solution and develop it further to services for the mining industry in the world. That's why we are also going out to these kind of, like for the BHP Tailings Challenge or for other. We also go to South America, and we try to get good connections to the mining industry with our network to show what we can do and showing our results of our projects, to also change the main idea of tailings treatment. yeah, it's very, for us, it's very, very good that now this industry or new industry standard on tailings was created in London and published, because this is exactly what we want to do. We want to take a look to these tailings, and we see that there is a worldwide interest in these kind of solutions. Yeah, and yeah, I talk about the Riku mine at the BHP Tailings Challenge. So this is what we presented at BHP. We applied there with our modular approach. We have 3 module approach. One is the processing of the tailings. So we want to roast it and leach it, and to create, for example, some leaching sulfuric acid. So for the classical leaching they do in BHP. Also, but we want to create this SMT product. This is a sweatmanite. This can be used in other mines, for example, in acid mine drainage areas, to catch all the pollutants out of mine waters. So this is a very valuable mineral we can create out of the sulfate fraction from the tailings. And we also work with the slurry. We classify the slurry and try to use that as ceramics or as landfill. We also take a closer look to geopolymers. So we create construction material out of the tailing streams to reduce the volume. And we, of course, taking care of the water, because the water is also a valuable resource, and which needs to be recycled as processed water, or which can be cleaned to fresh water. That is a big question mark. That is what we work on. And if we see here, there will be a dead end somewhere, we just change it, because we have another ideas and other companies in our Recombine network, and we can just change the direction we go. Yeah. And one example for Recombine project. So this was the example of what we do in the BHP Tailings Challenge, but we have, of course, also our Recombine projects. We do just because we believe in these ideas. One of these ideas is, for example, the bioleaching of this material from a tin mine, zinc and lead mine. This is a sulfidic material. This is this Davidschacht case I told you, the mine, the old tailing in Freiberg. And what we found out about this this site is that there is, we took some drill cores there, and we created a 3D model on the valuable elements, and we created also a 3D model on the toxic elements, and also the grain size distribution. And we found out that there is still some zinc inside. There is also some indium inside, but we also will get problems with arsenic and with cadmium. And we have also a problem that this material is very fine grained. So that's why we defined our process as best process, the bioleaching. So we took bioleaching because we can do it in a reactor. It's an airlift reactor, and it is working for fine grains, and it will definitely get out all the valuable metals and also the toxic elements, which we can extract later in a metallurgical way. So this is the suitable technology. And what we are doing now is we are now building that in sea containers as semi-mobile solutions. Of course, this is just in a pilot scale, but if that works well, we want to upscale that to industrial scale. And our belief is that we need semi-mobile container solutions, because most of the time you do not have the infrastructure in this area anymore. That's why you need these semi-mobile containers that you can move these containers when one tailing is finished. You can move it to another one. You adapt it a little bit to the other tailing or other tailing material, and then you can use it for several tailings. And this is more effective in terms of costs. That's why we're working, for example, on these container-based bioleaching solutions. Yeah. So that was already it. I think I spoke I spoke very fast, but should be in time. Yeah, if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer you, hopefully, all of your questions. And yeah, thank you again for the opportunity to present here as the first presenter.
Thank you very much, Philippe. Very nice presentation and perfectly in time. So I think we already have one question from Sabine. So Sabine, you may now ask your question.
Thank you, Philippe, for your presentation. So it's very interesting. Don't you think that it will be more efficient to focus on tailings in countries where the remediation, rehabilitation has not been done yet? Because if you start to focus on tailings in European countries, for instance, where remediation it's mandatory and we have higher regulations than in Africa or in Latin America, and especially I think it will be interesting because if you start to touch to tailings that have been remediated, then we have more issue on sustainability actions from NGOs, biodiversity that came back. So do you think?
So sorry, I didn't want to interrupt you. You are definitely right. We are using the tailings we have right next to our place just as test. Just for testing technologies. It's you have the material is very similar. For example, this sulfidic material is very similar to the material from other copper mines in the world, or from other zinc and lead mines. So we can use the material in front of our house to make the tests, to test the technology, to develop the technology further. But of course, we do not focus on our tailings because most of the tailings in Europe and Germany are remediated, or of course, there are some countries of the new European countries, they are starting remediation. So there is a market, but the main market will be somewhere in the big mining countries like Australia, South America, South Africa, also Canada sometimes. And our idea is definitely to focus on the big tailings. That's why we go for BHP, for example. And you are definitely right. You can. If you touch a remediated site, that is not possible because the local authorities, they spend a lot of money to do the remediation. And if you open that again, they will probably kill you or the people will be very angry, the surrounding people. No? But we still have some cases in Germany which are not. And now the authorities, because the regulations of water regulations, for example, getting stricter and stricter. So you see now also a big motivation with the local authorities to do this remediation, but they think about this classical remediation and they spend 8 million, 10 million euros just for a cover, and you have to care about the cover hundreds of years, because if the cover breaks, then the water goes through and the problem is there again. And we want to convince the local authority and the authorities in Europe as well to go a different way, to take the material, to really take the toxic elements, to bring them in a special deposit, and to use the left material for construction and other things, and you can create also free space in your community where you can put new industry plants there and so on. So this is there is still some work to do in Europe, but you're definitely right. The main work will be or need to be done somewhere else in the big mining countries in the world.
And I think you're right to really focus on the risk aspect of the tailings, because it's going to be higher risk. And the World Economic Forum, who was last week, really focused on the risk mapping that should be done in many industries. And in mining especially, the risks are quite high. So I think to focus on that, and also I think would be maybe interesting to talk with like company like Solvay. We are really interesting. They are implementing a lot of innovations on solvents to be able to treat tailings. They're also very interesting in polymers. So I think in terms of circular economy with tailings, there are many things to do. So I think what you are doing, it's great.
Thank you very much. We're working on a lot of different aspects. This is sometimes a bit hard to bring all the things together, but this is what we work on. Also, for example, the construction industry, you have to open the eyes of the guys from the construction company that this is a valuable resource, or could be a valuable resource for them with very high volumes. yeah, this is sometimes yeah, it's still a lot of work to do in that field, and we are working on to close this loop. And I hope, well, in 20 years we are a big step forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Sabil. Thank you, Philippe. Any other questions from the audience? Okay, I mean, I have one. I think, Philippe, you showed the uranium remediation in the Ore Mountain region. I'm just curious, was it a self-financed remediation, or was it a government-sponsored remediation?
The government, so after reunification, so before the reunification, the Wismut company was mining for uranium, and most of the uranium went to Russia. This and it was used by Russia because it was also yeah, from the German Democratic and from the Russian state company. Jonathan is a specialist in the history of the Wismut. I am not so good in that, but what happened is then after reunification, we had a political change in the eastern part, of course, and then they closed the mines because they were not not effective enough. And then there was a huge pollution problem in the whole region, and they transformed the whole company into a state company. So it's now the Wismut now is a state-owned company, and the state took a lot of money to transform all the whole area. And there are reports online. You can see there the amounts of money they used for this for the remediation, and it is massive. It is really a lot of money they used, billions of money to do that remediation, because there is a high there are a lot of problems from radon gas from in the region, but also from the uranium itself.
I see, thanks. And on the holistic approach to mine tailings remining, have you also considered the economic aspect of getting this additional element outside of just the metal, right? So the transmanite or all the different metals or materials you can recover. What additional value it can create to a tailing remining project?
So we have different values. The first value, I would say, I mean, in our countries, it is probably not that big or not that valuable. But in for example, in South America, water is one of the valuable elements you can get from tailings if you dewater it and if you clean the water. You have additional values are the property itself. If the tailing is or the mine waste is very close to a bigger city or to an industry area, then the whole property can be very valuable. And we have in Europe, for example, you have a few cases where you have very valuable property, and if you make the space free for other industries, you earn money with that. Then construction material, depending on the mineralogy of the tailings. This redmanite is one product we create out of a concentrate we create from sulfides. So this is a adsorbent for heavy metals in mine waters. Can be used by BHP itself to clean other mining areas. And we have, of course, the sulfuric acid, but for other mineralogies, it can be totally different. And then of course all the valuable metals which are inside. But we first have to make a full study on the material to get the information, and based on that information, we are planning which way we go and which are the best options for us. I hope that answered your question a bit.
Thank you very much. So I'll leave the presentation open for any questions before we conclude.
I would like to add something to your question to Philip. Usually Philip always says this, but there is this aspect of these infinite costs, right? Like whenever you cover just an old tailing or a waste disposal with, like, let's say a fine-grained clay sheet, and you control the water household underneath, which is very often the remediation solution to old tailings, you have like infinite costs of monitoring the water household and monitoring the sheet cover, whether it's stable or not. And once you start a more holistic approach, you like minimize the threat to a very, very small amount, and you end the infinite costs to the community. And I think this is also a very important aspect.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, true.
Yeah, thank you. That was it's very true. It's important that we not just take a look for the owner of the tailing, that the owner can earn a lot of money. It was also a lot about the society. So the society in the end, for the Wismut case, the society of Germany paid for the remediation, and that is the thing. And if we can lower the cost for the society, we can also, yeah, can have a value in the operation, in the tailing operation.
I think that's a great way to conclude the presentation.
Yes.
Thank you very much again for being with us today, and for being the first guest on this event. Well, you're welcome anytime to update us on your progress. I also want to thank everyone who joined today, because we see without participants it's hard to make an interactive discussion. So thank you very much. As explained in the introduction, if you are interested to know more about YMP, feel free to get in touch with me. I would also like to thank the YMP group for continued support while we grew the YMP Switzerland Association, and particularly Stephen Stewart, the YMP chairman. And also would like to thank Women in Mining Switzerland for promoting our event on their page. WIM Switzerland is also participating in bringing the mining community together. So please go and check their webpage and for any events they are organizing. So thank you, everyone. I think there is one question from Sabine. Could you please share your presentation? Is it something you would do? Or?
Yeah, of course. I can share it. I will send it to you, and you can share it in the whole group, I would say.
Okay, I will do then. All right. Thanks you. Thanks a lot, Philippe. Thanks, Jonathan, as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Have a nice day.
Same to you. We keep in touch. Cheers. Bye-bye.